The throwing class in Thorium is one of the craziest, fast-hitting, boss-destroying crit classes I've tried out in modded Terraria so far. However, during the early game, in my experience, this class feels like one of the weakest. Of course, that doesn't last long though, because as you get going through the progression of the game, this class's positives start to seem very apparent. You start getting lots of crit bonuses, better weapons with better effects, and a lot of damage. And I want to cover some of those things in this video today. Honestly, techniques are easily one of the coolest things about the thrower class. If you didn't already know, using throwing weapons allows you to stack up technique points while in combat that can be spent on abilities, such as creating dummy targets to draw aggros from enemies, giving yourself invincibility frames at will, and so much more. There's a whopping 16 of these to try out, all of which are craftable with the exception of a few that are rare drops from enemies. Another thing that I really love about this class that might sound kind of odd, but you get all of your accessories pre-Plantera. Anything you could possibly need for your class. You might think at first that this seems pretty bad. If you're going to get them all early, they must not be really great, right? But they all have pretty good stats. For example, the Guide to Expert Throwing Volume 3, the last class-based accessory you'll obtain, is just an upgrade from the previous thrower accessories, needing only 5 of each mechanical boss soul to craft it. And it gives a whopping 10% increased throwing damage, 10% increased throwing velocity, and 25% of throwing damage is duplicated, which is absolutely insane. And this, the Olympic torch that you can just get from fighting enemies in a marble cave, giving up to 25% move speed and 10% throwing speed while using throwing damage. By the end of the game, you feel like an absolute damage monster. Every time I've ever played on Expert before this in Terraria, I've almost always reforged all of my items to have warding, because I'm always afraid to die to difficult enemies. But this time I did so much damage that I went ahead and put lucky on everything, giving me 4% critical strike chance on every item. Because you won't need survivability if there's no enemies left to attack you. For example, this is me fighting the cultist on expert mode. I don't even know if I've ever seen a cultist killed this fast. Overall, this class is insane but starts out very slow. But I can say that it's a ton of fun once you get going. I highly recommend this class to anyone who enjoys the role of dealing as much damage as possible and doesn't mind having very low defense. But again, who needs defense if all the enemies are gone already?